Hello friends, neighbors, John your Whiskey Neighbor here. Welcome down the Nook. It is a longer weekend, so I thought I'd shoot another review, and we're going to talk Benromach. Actually, on the whiskey channels, Benromach's been getting mostly a lot of love, certainly a lot of interest, but there's also been some pretty heavy critiques. So these are my thoughts. I've got two Benromachs. I thought I had actually talked to you about them, but I quickly searched my channel and it didn't look like I did. So I thought, you know what? Benromach 10, we'll start there. This is a 43%. I've got some thoughts about this malt. And then I also have this Benromach, it's called Contrast. It's the Cara Gold release. So, if you have any Benromach, that would be awesome. Or if not, just any Speyside Scotch, when you pour a dram and come back, we'll talk Benromach. We'll just share some whiskey. 3, 4. Well, thanks for coming back. As I tried to say in the opener, Benromach's been getting a lot of attention, and I think deservedly so. This Benromach 10-year-old in my market is actually reasonably affordable, and it has a number of good things going for it. Right on the label, it talks about natural color. It also talks about, its casks are always first fill, so we've got more expressive casks, and at least this is released off the floor at 43%. This particular release is ex-bourbon and ex-sherry. And Benromach uses a little bit of peated malt in their expression. So there is, even though it's Speyside, there is some peat notes or some influence of that going on in the Speyside. Now, what I'm kind of dancing around is this bottle, well put out, talks about, first fill cask, natural color. And on this side, nothing. It should say, and we'll get to this bottle, non-chill filtered, which this one is. And that's where, if you really want to know a little bit more about non-chill filtering, especially on Benromach, go over and see Ralfy. He spent significant time talking about the importance of non-chill filtration. For me, I'm always trying to talk to you, and even fresh here, about what am I tasting right now? Because you might enjoy the Scotch, even though it's non-chill it is chill filtered. This one, the 10-year-old. Let's give it a try. We'll do nose and taste, and then what do I know more about this? No, just what I've said, just the casking and the little bit of peated malt. So let's nose and taste the Benromach 10. I enjoy this nose. It's a contrast of sweet toffees and some sweet fruits from the sherries, and yet there's just a whiff of smoke kind of curling up in there. It's not heavy, it's not strong, but it gives it a depth of character that I sometimes find missing in just overly sweet whiskeys. Now, it's not overly sweet, but it's got both that balance of kind of sweet toffee, a little bit floral vanilla, and then some sweet berry fruits of some kind. And then there's that wisp of smoke. Let's try it on the palate. Sanja. That is so tasty in the mouth. It really carries forward some malt, some graham cracker. The berries aren't really present as much for me in the palate. For me, the palate is more bourbon focused, so a little more of those sugars, a little more toffees. And then there is that peated expression. When I've had a couple of drams of this and I'm not really thinking, I don't find a lot of peat. And then if I have a dram of something else that is just ex-bourbon and ex-sherry, but there's no peat at all, if I come back to this, then it feels very peat, earthy, oily, like fuel oil kind of funk. So it's not overly powered that way. And it might be a good introduction for someone who's really not had any kind of peated malt, just sweeter, clean Speysides, lots of orchard fruits. Then this gives that splash of interesting, chewy, earthy kind of peat, because it's not overly burnt. But if you really don't like peat, you're going to find that in here. And so that could be a little bit putting off if you're thinking you're getting just a cleaner orchard fruit Speyside and you do get some fuel oil kicking around. I like this Benromach 10. And I fully respect Ralfy's comments. And I also agree that non-chill filtration allows the whiskey to speak more clearly. It is more coating in the mouth. It gives all the flavors that are taken out a better chance to sing or to talk. That said, this is very affordable in my market, and I think it delivers quite a few really good flavors. I love it that it's natural color. So I like the color on this, and I can go, yeah, and they didn't just put coloring to get that. That came out of their cask, which I think speaks to why they use first fill casks. They're more expressive. They do add more color. I like this. In fact, I like this a lot. For everything I just said, and I know it's chill filtered, but this is a 4-star 10-year-old Scotch. Critically, I'm probably 3 3/4, but it just, the value punches it up for me. And this should be tried. And what they should do is release it at 46% non-chill filtered. I agree. So then I found this Benromach contrast. Now they do a lot of ones that I think really are more of a contrast, because this one didn't seem much like a contrast. Like I've seen contrasts where it's like, okay, we've got some sweetness, but we're gonna do some saltiness, or we're gonna do some. And here, I suppose the contrast is they're using a portion of a different malt they don't normally use in making their whiskey, and that's Cara Gold malt. I don't know much about malts. I should know a lot more. My understanding of Cara Gold is that it is very floral, very fruity in the nose, but does have a spicy character that come through. Now, what's nice about this Benromach contrast for me, aside from it's got some interesting character, right? Because it's got a little bit of something, a different malt that we wouldn't normally use, a different barley malt. It's got lots of good information. This time, you know, we've got the natural color, and we've got the non-chill filter down the side. We've still got the only first fill cask matured. We've got dates in terms of when it was distilled, when it was bottled. It's clearly 11-year-old, and it's at 46%. So this is awesome. If this was released like this, it's for sure 4 stars. Maybe it's only 3 3/4. But let's see what this influence of the different malt changes how, you know, I experience the lightly peated general malt that they use in the regular Benromach. So Benromach contrasts Cara Gold malt. So this is much fruitier. It's cut fruit. It's slight, almost, you know, tropical mango. Whereas this was oh, and now coming back, it's got a little more smoke, a little more spice. But the fruiting on it is not nearly as expressive or as thick or as inviting as this is. Or inviting maybe is the wrong word. Like this, I think you would pretty much notice right away has those tropical, whatever, even cut star fruit. I'm not quite sure if I'm in pineapple, but I said like a little bit of mango almost. Like it is a thick, rich, fruit-forward nose. Yeah, and perhaps because it's got more of this other malt and less of this, there is less smoke and peat on the nose. Let's try it on the palate. Saja. It's a richer experience on the palate as well. I will say there's still good malt character, like that graham cracker, malty, thick, nice, lovely cooked sugars. We got that going on. It's a little more almost not nutty, but there's a little nut influence. The fruit holds up better in the palate, where here it went away and really spoke into that light peat, whereas this holds longer into a little bit more, yeah, maybe that's that malt, I don't know, but a little more spice characteristic. Just a light peppering, almost like a white pepper, and some of those flavors going on. Yes, it's 46, and yes, it's non-chill filter. It's certainly creamier, more coating than the 10-year-old, better body, holds up well. Finish. Now we get a little bit of that campfire, a little bit of smoke, a little bit of ash. You know, no, ash is too much. A little bit of smoke, a little campfire, and a little bit of funk. This is even more balanced as a little bit of peat. This actually, I don't know, coming back to it, it's been a while, is fairly expressive in peat. Like I don't want to say, but it's like maybe, I don't know, is it like 10 parts per million? I don't know, but it's starting to say hello. Whereas this is just edges and wisps and character and influence. So now I have to give this 4 stars, which is big for me. I mean, obviously there's lots of stars after 4, which says you have to run out. But if you see these two on the shelf and they're anywhere close in price, I would recommend this Cara Gold malt. I think it's more expressive, it's richer, it's thicker. Now, if you don't like tropical fruits, then back away from that. This is more classic, just some sherry and some ex-bourbon toffee going on with more smoke and fuel oil. This is more malt forward, more thick tropical fruit. It really comes together nice. We have to move this down now to 3 3/4. So 3 3/4, 4-star, both really excellent. And in my market, a good value as well. I solidly recommend these. Give them a try. Thanks for joining me. I don't know if I've ever been so expressive on a solid recommendation. I don't want to overplay it. I am just saying I enjoy these. Hope you guys are having a good weekend. Take care.